In the arena of military strategy, few weapons have sparked as much fear, fascination, and controversy as China's so-called carrier killer missile, the DF-21D. Officially classified as an anti-ship ballistic missile, ASBM, the DF-21D has been heralded by Chinese state media as the ultimate trump card against American naval dominance in the Pacific. One shot, one kill, at least that's the idea. Since its public unveiling, the missile has triggered heated debates in Pentagon briefings, Naval War College papers, and wargaming think tanks across the world. Can it really strike a moving aircraft carrier over 1,000 miles away? Has it rendered U.S. carrier strike groups obsolete? Or is it merely a tool of psychological warfare? Less about capability, more about perception? Before we dissect this global chess piece in detail, be sure to like, subscribe, and tap that notification bell so you never miss deep dive analysis on the world's most talked about weapons, threats, and military strategies. The birth of the DF-21D, China's strategic pivot. The DF-21D didn't emerge in a vacuum. It was born out of China's growing anxiety over U.S. naval power and the long-standing American advantage in force projection. For decades, U.S. aircraft carriers have sailed with near impunity in the Western Pacific, patrolling waters Beijing claims as its sphere of influence. But around 2010, something changed. China revealed that it had successfully modified its DF-21 medium-range ballistic missile into an anti-ship version, one that could theoretically track and strike moving targets like carriers at distances of over 1,500 kilometers. This was a profound escalation. The idea of a ballistic missile hitting a mobile sea target wasn't just novel, it was almost science fiction. No other country had developed such a weapon at operational scale. The DF-21D immediately earned its nickname, Carrier Killer. Chinese state-run outlets were quick to celebrate its capability, claiming it would push American forces far beyond the first island chain and neuter their ability to intervene in Taiwan or South China Sea disputes. Washington took notice. Defense analysts and admirals didn't dismiss the DF-21D as empty bravado. They began rethinking strategies, simulating scenarios, and preparing countermeasures. The age-old dominance of the carrier strike group had just met a new kind of threat. How the DF-21D is supposed to work. At its core, the DF-21D is a two-stage solid-fuel ballistic missile that can reach speeds of Mach 10 and deliver a payload of conventional or nuclear warheads. But its real innovation lies in its terminal guidance system, allegedly equipped with radar, optical, and satellite inputs that allow it to adjust course mid-flight and strike a moving ship with pinpoint accuracy. In theory, a launch would begin with surveillance satellites or over-the-horizon radar detecting U.S. carrier movement. That data would be relayed in real time to command centers, which would calculate a firing solution and launch the missile. As the DF-21D arcs through the upper atmosphere, its guidance systems would continually refine its target lock, correcting course as it re-enters the atmosphere and performs a high-velocity terminal dive toward the carrier. On impact, the kinetic energy alone could cripple the ship. If a high-explosive or specialized penetrator warhead is used, the results could be catastrophic. One missile strike could potentially disable the nerve center of a carrier battle group, a strategic nightmare for U.S. military planners. China claims the system is mobile, road-launched, and capable of evading early detection. And with multiple launchers stationed along China's eastern coast, the DF-21D could theoretically create an exclusion zone that pushes American carriers far away from critical flashpoints like Taiwan or the South China Sea. U.S. military response. Concern, not panic. The United States didn't laugh off the DF-21D. Far from it. Within years of its emergence, U.S. naval strategy began to shift dramatically. Pentagon planners openly acknowledged the threat of long-range precision strike weapons from China and Russia, initiating studies and programs aimed at preserving carrier viability in contested environments. The Navy developed new doctrines like Distributed Maritime Operations, DMO, which disperses assets across a wider area to minimize vulnerability to long-range strikes. Electronic warfare and decoy technology have been modernized. Aegis missile defense systems on destroyers and cruisers were upgraded to intercept ballistic missiles. And perhaps most telling, new investment flowed into hypersonic weapons and advanced countermeasures. Still, many officials and analysts quietly question whether the DF-21D is as fearsome as it seems. Hitting a moving carrier from 1,000 miles away isn't just difficult. It's almost inconceivable without seamless, real-time targeting data, extreme computational power, and the ability to maintain sensor links in a combat environment where jamming, spoofing, and electronic warfare dominate. As one retired U.S. admiral bluntly put it, "You can't kill what you can't find, and you can't hit what you can't track." The oceans are vast, carriers move fast, and war is unpredictable. The reality of targeting an aircraft carrier. For the DF-21D to truly fulfill its carrier-killing promise, China must possess a near-perfect targeting infrastructure. That includes surveillance satellites in low Earth orbit, high-frequency radar installations, signal triangulation systems, and airborne drones, all feeding data into a central command hub in real time. But during wartime, that network won't survive unchallenged. U.S. cyber forces, anti-satellite weapons, and electronic warfare platforms are designed to disrupt precisely these systems. In a shooting war, satellites can be blinded, drones can be jammed, and radar can be spoofed. The kill chain is not as simple as tracking a blip and launching a missile. Then there's the maneuvering factor. A carrier strike group includes multiple destroyers and support ships, all capable of launching countermeasures, jamming enemy sensors, and deploying decoys. Add to that the speed and constant course changes of a modern aircraft carrier, and the DF-21D begins to look less like a silver bullet and more like a high-risk, high-failure weapon. It's also worth noting that even if a missile like the DF-21D were to strike a carrier, modern carriers are built with redundancy and damage control in mind. One missile might disable systems or cause casualties, but sinking a carrier outright is far harder than public perception suggests. The role of propaganda and psychological warfare. For China, the real power of the DF-21D may not lie in its kinetic potential, but in its psychological impact. By creating the perception that U.S. carriers are vulnerable, China sends a strategic message: stay away. This messaging shapes regional diplomacy, arms procurement decisions, and deterrence calculations. Nations near the South China Sea may think twice before aligning too closely with the U.S. if they believe American carriers can't protect them. The carrier killer becomes a political weapon, casting doubt on the U.S. Navy's ability to operate freely in contested zones. China's state media plays this angle relentlessly. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to stay ahead of the world's evolving military tech landscape. Drop a comment below. Do you believe the DF-21D is the real deal?